yo, I'm like pumping off here. I'm like, I have all these utilities. I'm like rolling around, dodging. I'm doing all the things this game is supposed to offer me. And then they see someone literally just fucking booty blasting 17 screens ahead of them.
Hi guys, Asmo here, and if you wanna start booty blasting 17 screens ahead, you've come to the right place. I'm gonna show you how I set up my Elemental Spear Amazon to comfortably do T15 maps. The character feels very strong, really fast, with very nice clear, good enough single target damage to kill all the bosses without any issues. Haven't had any issues for single target or for clear. It's just a very nice all-around mapping character that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I'm gonna show you how I set it up. Today I finished Uberlab. I literally just finished it, so I'm gonna show you some footage from the Uberlab as well, and I'm gonna go over the entire build. I know a lot of people are struggling because they don't know how to set up the character properly. The game is challenging, the game is difficult, and some people are gonna choose to complain, and some people are gonna choose to learn. So if you're here to learn, I'm gonna show you exactly how you can build your character to have a lot of fun. So let's first look at the skill gem setup. The infused weapon can be supported. It's just like a skill. It comes from the ascendancy point here, but I just literally finished my lab, so I don't have the supports yet. I'm gonna put a mobalytics setup in the description, and a little bit after the video I'm gonna go over the support gems, figure out what's best to put in here, and then later I'm gonna update the mobalytics guide, so you can check that. You can like favorite the guide and then later check it when I update it. So infused weapon can be supported, but I'm gonna go over the other skills that you're gonna be basically leveling with and playing with until that level, because I don't think you should do Uberlab probably until like level 85, maybe even 90 if you don't have good enough gear. It's relatively challenging, especially for this archetype, and I'm gonna give you some quick tips. So what I did is actually grabbed acrobatics and spec enough evasion here. I had this Stalking Panther, and make sure that you have a flask that regenerates charges, like mana flask that regenerates charges. If you don't, then just get it from trade. If you're in SSF for some reason, then maybe grab Asmeri Brew for mana recovery from the life flask. But yeah, that will be necessary. The acrobatics helps a lot. I normally play without acrobatics, but for the lab it helped a lot. So let's look at the lightning spear. So that's the main clearing skill that we have, and it also serves to set up the single target for primal strikes. So we have martial tempo, primal armament, long shot. So these two are self-explanatory, just basic multipliers for any elemental attack. But long shot, we are using the skill to clear, and we are shooting from very far away most of the time. So you're gonna get huge bonus of this on this, like while clearing maps, while even doing single target damage, you wanna get away from the enemy. If the enemy is dangerous and has some dangerous stuff going on around them, you're gonna be shooting from distance with this skill a lot. So long shot is very good in this. Then we have Vault. That is a really good skill for clear speed. Basically the way it works is, as you can see this buff, voltaic charge, right? So after I shoot, I need to move a little bit and I get charges. It's relatively quick, so like almost every pack you're gonna have it, depending on like how fast you're moving, and it gives you 1 extra chain and 5% more damage per 10 charges. So it can give you 3 chains and 15% more damage. Very good for clear. Very good support for that. Not that good for single target, of course, but for clear it's great. And then we have Bullseye for more accuracy rating, because accuracy gives me crit, right? Since it's scaling with crit, also more accuracy at a distance. If you look right now, I have up to 60% crit chance because of our ascendancy, and without the Bullseye that is 50, right? So that is like what, 13% crit chance on like the closest range enemies, and then like 20% crit chance on the furthest enemy. So it actually matters more for the faraway enemies, which is what we're shooting at, right? So this is really good for this skill. And then we're setting up basically the target with this spear, and when we shock the target, like let's say you're shooting a pack and you kill the pack and you hit the rare that's there, the rare is shocked, but the rare still has life, so you use Primal Strikes to finish it off. Primal Strikes does a lot of damage, it's a very nice single target skill. We're running Pursuit, so Pursuit does more damage if you dealt projectile damage recently, which is pretty much always active because you always do, and it combos well also with Retreat. So if you're struggling on damage but not on clear, like you could for example replace the Vault with Retreat if you wanted to do more single target damage, right? That would be a better option for that. So Pursuit, Retreat, good supports, a good combo for this build overall. Then we have Conk Effect, works very well with this. It narrows down the AoE that we have so we can shotgun better, and it just does a lot of damage. Then we have the Lightning Infusion for a huge amount of damage. It's like one of the best supports that we can have in here. Elemental Focus, because we're not shocking with this skill, we are applying exposure and consuming the shock. So we're shocking with our Lightning Spear, and then we're consuming that shock with the Primal Strikes and also applying exposure. So we can have the Elemental Focus in here. And then I'm running right now Behead, because a lot of the time, like I said, in the maps, you're gonna hit a rare pack, and then the rare is gonna stay alive, and then you're gonna finish the rare with the Primal Strikes, and that's gonna grant you the buff. You can also run in here things like Super Critical. You can run also Excoriate, which is 10% more damage if you have shock on the target, and you always will have a shock. If you have some more ailments, then it's even better, actually much better if you have more ailments. And if you have, like, let's say like some cold damage or fire damage and you're igniting and chilling, that would be really amazing. So if you can have a ring with like huge amount of and like gloves with huge amount of like cold and fire, then you would be doing definitely more damage with that. And then Lightning Mastery is another thing you can pick if you don't want to run Behead. Then we have Thunder's Leap. Thunder's Leap basically has a Fist of War for some more damage. You can have more damage supports in this, but it's going to increase your mana cost, which I don't really want to do. And then Hit and Run gives you more skill speed, which makes the skill faster to use, but it does require that you travel a little bit of distance before being able to use it again. But the distance that you use while jumping counts as well for the distance for that support jump. Then we have Disengage, again, mobility, just learn to do these combos. Like, for example, really good combo is like you're hitting a mob, right? A really good use for this is like you're hitting a mob and then suddenly, like on death effects, just press the button. You're out. Like that's your fastest way to move. So this is really good for dodging stuff. This is really good for propelling you forward while moving. It's really nice. And we have Tame Beast. So I'm using Tame Beast here because I want to see the types of monsters. I just want to learn more about the game, see the types of monsters, and then still look for a beast. Sometimes I might not know that some monster is a beast, and this will let me know. And if it's a beast, I will read the modifiers and see if there's anything good. And I got a new beast. This beast has a couple of really good modifiers, and then some modifiers that might look good but are actually not good. So that periodically unleashes lightning and explodes nearby corpses are actually not good because it doesn't do really any meaningful damage. But what it does is confuse you, and so I recommend if I could like design this monster, I would get it without those two mods because they actually like spam DD and the lightning explosion, and it makes it so that you get scared. You're like, oh, is it enemy? Is it me? And then you're like, you relax and then you die to enemies actually doing those abilities, right? If you don't pay attention. So the reasons why I have this though is the haste aura and the regen life. I wanted to get regen life because that allows me to use loyalty and the beast doesn't die. It regens a lot of life. It keeps up for almost anything. Like the only situation where it dies is when you have like some crazy AoE overlapping and the monster just stays in it and doesn't dodge, right? And of course takes insane amount of damage and dies. But then it revives very quickly, and most of the time it stays alive. It's also a relatively quick minion that doesn't do any like weird shit, so he like keeps up with me all of the time. So I have the speed aura that's roughly like 20% more damage, which is very, very nice. And it's very nice. The loyalty plus elemental army plus meat shield combo is very good. Allows you to stay alive and give me 10% extra mitigation, basically. One bug that I noticed is that the reservation of the spirit is incorrect here. This says 42.3 spirit, but that's not true. It reserves like 70 spirit, right? So you can see I have 6 spirit right now. If I unreserve this, I have 58. Wait a minute. Okay, that's a different amount completely now. Okay, this earlier it was like spending 70 spirit. I don't understand this skill. The reservation on it is all over the place, but we do have some reservation nodes in order to be able to use it. So I have the easygoing and companion reservation here. You can pick up even more reservation. You can also pick up herald reservation if you're missing some reservation. But I am running a chest with spirit and an amulet with spirit in order to be able to run everything. The next thing we are reserving is cast on shock. A custom shock allows you to automate Sniper's Mark. I have Impetus, a Life Tap for no mana cost, and then Profusion for extra charges 50% of the time, and that allows me to have relatively consistent while mapping source of frenzy charges. We don't need to electrocute, we don't need to like run 3 dragons or anything else to like sacrifice our shock or whatever. You either sacrifice like huge amount of shock or something in order to do this. So I really don't like also running the unique gloves. I prefer doing it like this. I don't care that much about the CC. I would rather just kill stuff faster and do bosses faster and still have the benefits of the frenzy charges. You get them relatively consistently. You get them mostly when there's a lot of monsters, and that's when you actually need them, because the empowered spear splits to more targets and then splits again. So the empowered spears plus the infusion gonna give you a lot of clear, and it's gonna work most effectively whenever you need it the most. So it's a relatively good use of this, I think. Then we have Wind Dancer for evasion, running precision on it as well, because my spirit allows it. And I have a node. If I dodge roll, I have 82% evasion. If I don't dodge roll, I have 80. And then we also have Tailwind, which gives you, I think, 150% increase, right? Because it's like 15 per stack, yeah. So I also have 150% increased evasion with Tailwind, so that goes way higher than that even. So very, very good amount of evasion. Wind Dancer is still useful. And then we have Herald of Thunder with Innervate, Magnified Effect, and Persistence. Innervate works with Herald of Thunder and Persistence works with Innervate. I've heard so many people on my stream and other people's streams like claim that it doesn't work while they're not playing the game even. I don't understand why. They read something in patch notes, misunderstood it or whatever. Someone said something wrong. I don't know who said it, but someone said something wrong and now people are parroting it. Innervate works, you can test it, go into a map. I'm gonna do a map in a moment and I'm gonna show you basically Innervate working. You're gonna see a buff here and it does have the duration increased by Persistence. So we're running Herald of Ash, it's a lot of clear, a lot of damage, and that's basically the support and skill gem setup. Now let's look at the passives. So for passives, I changed things a little bit. Let's first look at the ascendancy points. I recommend grabbing first the critical strike, grabbing second the Stalking Panther, grabbing third the Penetrate if you have accuracy on your weapon, and if not, then Elemental Infusion or even Mystic Harvest, and then going for the setup that I have here in the end game. I think either going for the Penetrate or going for Mystic Harvest is good. These nodes like Predatory Instinct in for the kill, for this build it's trash, so I would not use that. This is a really, really good setup. So you want a lot of evasion on your helmet, gloves, and boots. And I do have a pretty good amount of evasion on these. So Elemental Infusion, again, we're gonna put some supports in this. It's gonna do even better. So I'm gonna show you map even without the supports in that. And the rest of the passive is as follows. I was pathing earlier through the damage, but some of this damage is conditional. And as I showed you, I'm no longer using the retreat. So I don't want the conditional stuff. I don't want to have to like think about tagging things in melee, even though it's very easy to do. I'm automating everything, right? I'm basically running around pressing one button and then have like a couple of mobility skills. And then for single target, I just nuke something with the primal strikes. That's it. Like very, very nice playstyle, very smooth playstyle, no extra buttons, no like whirlwind 3 times, buff, empower, make shock the ground, spam tornado, like none of that. Like just shoot, things die, shoot, things die, that's it. So we're pathing through here because it saves some points that I can use more efficiently for better damage nodes than the ones here, which are not that good. And it also gives me extra movement speed and evasion and dex. I need a lot of dex because tree is relatively compact, don't have much attributes on the gear, so I need the dex. So my pathing is biased toward getting a lot of attributes. We're getting this extra evasion, movement speed from here, so that is still a really good way to path. Then we have the elemental ailment threshold. From Act 3, I recommend picking up the stun threshold, which is gonna help you not get stunned so much because we have relatively low HP, like 1800. Stun threshold from Act 3, all attributes from Act 6, and then here we get some elemental ailment threshold, and that helps you just not get destroyed by elements in maps. It's very, very noticeable when you pick this up. And then we have just generic damage with penetration and AoE. We have a lot of crit multi here with some reduced global defenses, so you could have even more evasion if you don't pick this up, but it is a lot of damage, so I think it's worth picking up. Movement speed evasion. Then I'm pathing here because I want the chance to shock, so I can very consistently trigger shock for primal strikes. Penetration is needed for some map mods that roll a lot of resistances, or some mobs that have like res on them, so it just doesn't give you the DPS all the time, but it gives you the DPS when you need it the most. Plus the dexterity helps here as well. Pathing to this node is just a good node, and if you happen to have a lot of flat fire or cold on your gear, it's going to be even better. Then we're pathing down through a jewel socket. On this jewel socket I have, I wanted to get a jewel socket with mana on kill. I think even 2% would be better. And then I have like magnitude of shock, increased LA damage, recoup, just whatever good stuff I could find with the mana on kill that is useful on my build. Then I have elemental attack damage catalysis. Everybody picks this, very, very good node. Then we're pathing through maiming strike for more movement speed, magnitude of shock, and mana regen. Mana regen not to be overlooked, very important. You are gonna have mana problems if you don't take care of it. Then we are picking up this one little companion node. Like, these are basically 20% damage, and it's while clearing, you're not always gonna be in the presence of your companion. He's gonna stay behind you sometimes, but on single target, on bosses, this is always gonna be active. And then we have Dance with Death, basically a mandatory keystone. Let me talk first about the shield choice, right? So a lot of people are asking, should you use the shield? Should you not use the shield? Should you use the keystone? Should I use like a rare shield or Lyco shield, right, for doubling my accuracy? So here's my take on that. If you want to be tankier, use a shield. If you can use like a hybrid evasion and armor, maybe with physical damage reduction, that would be something good. If you can get like max res, if you can get a lot of life, a lot of evasion, of course, as well, that would be really good on a shield. So it's gonna make you more tanky, but you're gonna lose a lot of damage and you're gonna lose a lot of speed. And speed is kind of important. They're gonna buff Lightning Spear, so it's gonna be even faster, but I already made it relatively fast, and it's so much more fun to play for me, and it's the most damage that you can get. Lyco shield is like the in-between. Lyco doesn't give you that much defense, but it gives you some damage. It's still less damage than Dance with Death, but it is a decent amount of damage. Like, I POB'd, and Dance with Death for me was just more damage. So I just go with Dance with Death because it's also the best playstyle. And the third thing I want to say about shields is that they don't solve the actual problems that you have with your defense. You don't have a problem with avoidance. You don't need block. Block does not actually solve the situations where you're dying most of the time, because you're already avoiding a lot of hits. You're not dying to like a lot of monsters shooting at you or hitting you at the same time once you get a decent amount of evasion. What you're dying to are slams, bosses one-shotting you, explosions on the ground, just AoE that you cannot block, you cannot evade, things like that. That's what you die to. So you could potentially go for acrobatics. I picked acrobatics for the trial, but while mapping, I prefer actually no acrobatics and just dodge everything and just don't get hit, right? I prefer that. So yeah, shield doesn't really solve that much in terms of like the defense that you actually need, right? You would need some mitigation or like a lot of life. I guess that's what helps, right? Having a lot of life. You can have like a highest T1 roll of life on a shield. That would help. But the block itself actually does not help that much. Okay. Next passives we have is the skill speed and the movement speed. Skill speed is extremely valuable because this is a multiplier to skill speed. So things like Tailwind that we have that give you a 30% increased skill speed, so 30% on max stacks, is gonna be actually multiplied by this, right? So all the skill speed we're getting is multiplied. It's very nice. We have accuracy here with Falcon Die for more attack speed. All of these spear nodes are very good. And then we're pathing up for Herald, a lot of damage, our companion skills and companion reservation, and of course Inspiring Ally, which makes these nodes like 20% increased damage, crit chance, crit damage, some extra attributes, which is very useful, and +1 to base crit. Pathing through evasion for a lot of dex, which we need, and then attack speed with dex, because again, this is like a way to pick up damage while also picking up dex, because we really need the dex. I'm still would like to have more of it, but it's like we need to level up. We need to get a higher level to do that. So that's basically the setup for the tree. But then we also have a weapon swap setup, and basically what I do when I have a map with temp chains, I just do this, and I do the map like that. So I have the, I lose some damage, but what I get is a reduced slowing potency of debuffs on you. So I go from temp change slowing me like by 20 something percent to it only slowing me by like 10%. And the map is much more playable. So for temp chains, I picked this up in a weapon swap because I have nothing else to do with weapon swap, and that is, I think, useful. I have, I think, another jewel here for some extra dex and elemental damage, critical damage bonus, and that's it. I just needed some extra dex with some damage, right? And I had a jewel slot here, so why not use it? So that's basically the passive skill tree. Other options that you have that I didn't mention are some defensive options. So you could potentially, if you have a beast that dies, right? Let's say your beast doesn't have regen life and it just dies, but you do want to run loyalty because you want to be tankier. One option you have is to, for example, run Mystic Harvest and have the life leech apply to you, like based on elemental damage as well as physical. So you're going to get much more life leech. If you have life leech on gear, of course, you need to have life leech on gear, but that is going to give you a huge leech. And then you can path down here to these nodes, which give you life leech from your hits, also applies to your companion. So you're going to be healing yourself and your companion. So that's a way to get really tanky. There are some really good nodes here, such as the critical chance nodes. There are also nice nodes here for the lightning damage, chance for lightning damage to be lucky, penetration and chance to shock. These nodes, like this is a lot of damage here. This is a really good area to be at. You can also path to this, like lots of attack speed and accuracy with attributes. That is also really good. And then also penetration here. So this is a really good area to path to and totally worth going for the thirsting ally if you want to get the extra tankiness, right? You can also path here and get even more attack speed. So I will definitely consider doing this. I will later POB and see if like this stuff that I have here on the tree could be actually swapped for this, and this could be even more damage. So I think that's it's probably going to be a superior setup later on in the end game, but I will need to fix my dexterity somehow, right? And get better gear, so we'll have more evasion. So I will not need these things, right? If I no longer need dexterity, then, and I have like a, you know, a lot of spirit as well, so I don't need extra reservation or have a different beast, then I will definitely consider pathing to here. But that is the passive setup. Now let's quickly go over the gear. So I upgraded my gear over the course of the league. I mean, the league has been out for like what, 3 days? It's like day 3 or something like that. So I have a spear here, which is like what, 400 DPS spear with some accuracy on it, and it has some life recovery on it. Not that much life recovery, but it's enough to sustain my life cost, which I have from the Anoint. So I have an Anoint Price of Freedom, which is here, and 10% reduced mana cost of attacks and 18% of skill mana cost converted to life cost. So this is basically 28% lower mana cost. I think the most mana cost reduction that you can get. Very good Anoint. I highly recommend it if you have mana issues. You just need a little bit of life recovery somewhere, like some leech, some life on hit, some life on kill, something to sustain your life. But other than that, you can just rely on flasks as well. So that's my weapon. Then we have the, let's go over gloves and let's go over the uniques first maybe. So the uniques are the helmet, the black insignia, very, very nice helmet for a league start. Very good if you want to just clear maps quickly. If you are evasion based, you're not going to get hit a lot. I think with block, maybe block actually counts as hit as far as I know, at least in PoE1 blocks, when you block damage, it counts as you still being hit. So it would break this, right? It would like remove the tailwind stacks, but evasion, stacking as much evasion as you can, is synergizing with this very well because we get to keep a lot of stacks. So we have a lot of evasion, we have some res, tailwind, and we have a rarity on it as well. Amazing, just really, really nice helmet, very, very nice, like league start unique. And then we have another league start unique that is great for this ascendancy, Death Rush. The accuracy rating benefits our damage more than any other ascendancy. Evasion helps us, of course, and then you have some leech and onslaught, right, for 4 seconds on kill. So we have onslaught, we have tailwind, and we have lots of movement speed. I have like between 50 and 60% movement speed while mapping, maybe even above 60. If I have everything stacked, everything up, I have like 60-something% movement speed. So that is very, very nice. So these are the two uniques. Then for rares on the chest, I would highly recommend having like a lot of life, spirit, and then some res, right? So a lot of life, spirit, and some res. Evasion is good, but not that important because we are reducing it, right? We mostly care about evasion on helmet, gloves, and boots. But the spirit is very useful, the life is very useful, and then I also have the reduced potency of slowing debuffs. That's just a base I happened to find for 1 divine. It's a very nice deal, I think, that I've gotten, so I'm happy with this chest. And I'm putting in all of these chaos resistance because chaos res is harder to get on gear and relatively easy and cheap to get from the soul cores. These were like, you know, 1x each, so I just bought a bunch of soul cores and put them in my gear, and now I have 50% chaos res on top of capped elemental res, so this is completely fine to map. Then we have the gloves. So on gloves, you want, of course, life and resistances, but if you could afford it, if you had a better gear in other slots, of course, you would like to have attack speed, which is massive, and then flat damage, ideally flat fire or flat cold, to apply other ailments and benefit from like extra damage that you can get from like excoriate support and the increased damage and so on. I have like lots of evasion, accuracy, life, and resistances. Really nice pair of gloves. Then the boots have 30 movement speed. This is one of your first upgrades. Need to be movement speed, boots for 30% movement speed. I don't have a life roll on this, but I have a good enough evasion and some stun threshold. Stun threshold, actually do not overlook it. It's actually useful. Like I noticed the difference. If having like 100 stun threshold extra versus not is really useful. So it's not a wasted dead stat. It's actually something that helps your character. And then we have like a bunch of resistances there. These are boots that I actually found on the ground, and they had no movement speed and open prefix, and on stream you can check the VOD. I slammed them and got the movement speed on them as well, right? So these are SSF boots. Okay, we got SSF like triple res, what is it, like 91 res or something on these boots. 91 res, 30 movement speed, and 458 evasion. Really nice pair of boots. Then I have a belt. I was looking for a belt with a lot of life and then some decent suffixes. Unfortunately, prefixes are terrible on the belts usually. I guess armor is decent. I don't know if you can get mana, but I got +2 charm slots. I wanted to try playing with a lot of charms, so I got that, and I have the thawing charm. I have a for freeze, for stun, and then also rarity. If you have a low chaos res, you can have also like the chaos res or poison charm, but since I got to 50 chaos res, I just went to for the rarity because why not? And then we have an amulet. So amulet is literally from campaign. This is what is it, item level 59. Yeah, so like second half of the campaign I found this. It had spirit, rarity, strength, and int, I think, and I slammed like the res and life on it. Really amazing amulet. I've had it for a very long time. You basically need attributes, spirit, and then life, right? Attribute, spirit, life, that's what you need. If you can have anything else, that's great. But yeah, that's the amulet I'm using. And that is basically all of the gear. For flasks, we have just increased amount recovered and increased charges. And here, like increased amount recovered and gains charges. And the belt also gives me 20% of flask recovery applied instantly, which is very nice, because if I just spam my skills and spend some stuff, I can press and immediately heal myself, immediately do this. So this is really nice because I can have the prefix for increased amount recovered and still have instant component to my life flask. So it's very useful for survivability. And that is basically the setup. So now let me show you the build in action. All right, we're gonna open our random map here, Willow. I like the cleansed maps, they're very nice. We get a T15 stone here with what, quant rarity, number of rare monsters minus max, less recovery of life and energy shield. All right, and let's see how that goes. So we have 3 portals. Yeah, I find that 6 modifier maps are like, you can do them, no problem. You just have to not play like a maniac, right? And I prefer playing like a maniac. So this is the clear that we have, right? This is the clear that we have. It's very nice. Already got an exalt, already making money. So what you're doing is you're just jumping around and throwing spears and having fun and blowing everything up. And making sure to not walk into too many on-death effects, right? So you can spam them more, but if you take a break from hitting and just wait for your like voltaic charges, right? You're gonna do more damage. Okay, so for rares, what we do is we do this, right? Now, why did the behead mod not work? I don't know, maybe I killed with Herald or something. Yeah, what you do is you just shock it with the spear, and then walk up and do your melee thing and things die. And you also clear a little bit with the melee hit. Wait, I have my tooltip's not showing or whatever. So yeah, you walk up to the rare, you melee it and it dies. It's like the game is so easy. The game is so easy. You can ride the Roa with this as well, for sure. Roa would be nice. Roa definitely would work with this, but Roa is good for when you have to spam skills. When you're only attacking like every now and then, like this, you don't really need the Roa. It doesn't benefit you that much, and it's a lot of reservation for relatively small benefit. Okay, we have a gorilla fucking doing a lot of damage to me. Oh, we got a level. What do I pick? I don't know. I'm just gonna grab the accuracy attack speed for now and think about it later. Just pick up some extra damage. So yeah, the character feels very nice to play. You get a decent amount of speed. You can see 86% evasion. And then movement speed. Let's see, where is movement speed? 65, depending on like where we're hitting and how many stacks we have, right? 57, 58. So we need onslaught and a beast next to us and stuff, and we have, yeah, between 50 and 60. Sometimes it's 60, sometimes it's 50, but it's very nice. Yeah, it's 2 rare mobs, like no struggle at all. I don't know, I'm gonna make also leveling guide for it later when I finish with endgame. When I make some currency, finish my atlas, and oh, fracturing orb, let's go. Fracturing orbs, probably worth investing into. They're probably gonna go up in price. It'll be very strange if they didn't. Yeah, I saw the poison version as well. The poison version could have potentially like more single target damage. Not really sure. Arcane Strongbox. Arcane Strongbox. What does it drop? I know like the researcher is currency. Then blacksmith and armor, of course, is weapons and armor. What is caster stuff? I think. Okay, caster gear. Okay, don't feel like picking it up. Blacksmith strongbows. Yeah, that's definitely not worth even doing. You can kill it for like the monsters, but yeah. Okay, another X, and then I think we can use a checkpoint maybe to travel to the other guy faster. And that's basically the map. I can show a breach as well. There's a breach in this map. Maybe I can also load up a boss and show you boss damage. Okay, we got a waste on T15, very nice. Artificer orb. Okay, let's open the breach. Just for fun. I don't have any points into breaches or anything like that, but we're just gonna do it. Let's grab the ultimatum, let's walk over the hands. You wanna run as much as you can, kind of like playing Yasuo in League of Legends. Yes, to stack your passive, you wanna stack your like voltaic charges or whatever they're called. Okay, we got a breach tablet, that's nice. Alright, so that's how the clear looks like. Relatively comfy. Again, this is still like just a starter build. We don't have much in terms of like investment into it, just like basic gear. And that's how it functions as a baseline in T15 maps. Let me pick up the loot, and then we're gonna jump into a boss fight. Alright, let's do a Steaming Springs. This has a boss. I have a T15 map here with what? Monster packs. Number of rare monster, 50% AoE and chance to poison on hit. Okay, that's gonna be spicy. You know what I can do? I can be smart actually. Where's my charm? Where's my poison charm? Poison charm, let's go. And we can refill it. Alright. So, let's show the boss. With boss maps, if you're worried ever about like dying, you wanna clear the map first, right? If you care about like sustain, because you're still gonna get the map from the final rare. So typically you wanna kill the rares first and then do the boss. And you are gonna get extra checkpoints for that, right? So you have a checkpoint next to boss that you can grab. And then if you kill the last rare, you're gonna get a checkpoint next to it as well. You can shoot back at those things to kill them. The spirits, not really bothering with the spirits, they don't really do much. You can do a quick expedition. Regen life. I should have checked what other mods this gorilla had. Okay, Greater Jeweler, nice. Right, so Monster XP, sure, why not? Quantity, Monster increased damage, Monster pack size, immune to fizz, whatever. I didn't click immune lightning, right? Yeah, okay, good. Alright, so Expedition is dangerous because of the runic explosions on the ground. These things are really dangerous and they can definitely kill you. So you gotta be careful for that. And then also some monsters like block ranged hits, so you gotta walk up in melee and just spam your melee to kill them. We can open the chest. Some artifacts, crossbow. Alright. Let's look for the boss. Yeah, you can use the mobility skills, and you see how like my slam. Oh shit! My slam just like hit the monsters, and that is enough to trigger the melee range synergy if you're using that. I'm not really using that anymore, but the build still scales melee and ranged relatively well together. So I'm still, of course, using the melee and ranged combo. Okay, so we can do this. And okay, proxy. It's nice to have options as well for certain mobs that have like, you know, proximal tangibility, and then, well, you have a melee skill as well, right? So you can always use both. This map is decent for finding beasts as well. You can be on the lookout. Like all the like forest biomes, any like kind of natural looking biome is relatively decent for beasts. And I prefer the cleansed maps. The corrupted maps are really annoying to do because they have mobs that just appear and spawn under you. Why is my character slow? There's a bug where your character just like gets locked into a slow animation for some reason. Oh, we got a rare worm. These worms drop all of currency, so let's see if these guys have something for me. They're hasted. Just an exalt. And a lot of gold, I guess. Wait, the other one is also rare. Okay, not much currency this time. Okay, we've got a couple of rares there to kill. Yeah, so let me know in the comments what do you think about the build. Oh, another rare, what the hell? Okay, chaos. Wait, we need to drop some stuff to the ground because we got no space in the inventory. So let me know what you think about the build in the comments below. If you have any questions as well, you can just post them in the comments. You can also check out my stream. I have some VODs so you can see like my entire day one league start, and then later a couple of other streams. Wait, there's also another rare below there. XD, okay, we gotta hunt this guy. But yeah, I'm having a blast. Act 1 was tough, but if I had to do it again, I would do it much better now. Okay, so see, you get the T15 map from the last rare, even if you're doing the boss map. And then when you kill the boss, you get the reward from the boss as well. So let's see how much damage we have against this. So we want to shock him first, and then you want to do the melee. You get exposure, easier to apply shock. You do the melee again, shock, melee, and you kill. And that's basically the single target on this character. These are good gloves, but let me ID this. Attack speed. Okay, these are good. Alright, so if you have any questions, post them in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.